grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. Said my grandson will be in a Ferrari. But he said my great-grandson will be walking again. So I asked him, I said, well, why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. Many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors.
So he said at the end, that's why you need to create warriors. Yeah, I love that quote. It's a famous quote. I even like the way he remixed it a little bit with the whole walking and then the Cadillac and the Ferrari, etc. And like, it's so true. It is so true. When you're in a certain environment, it's going to create a certain experience. And we were talking about this earlier on. It's like you're trying to teach your children certain concepts, certain ideas, which may seem foreign or alien to them, or they may not understand why you think this is significant, because the world in which they're living in is completely different to the world in which you lived in many ways. Not in all ways, but in many ways. So when I think about that, it's like, this is the kind of thing which always encourages me to teach my children based on timeless principles. And it's like, we obviously know, we all believe like the word of God has timeless principles.
Come on.
Timeless insights for you to live a certain lifestyle or a certain way, regardless of the situation. And it's like God's principles, the instructions that God gives us in his word are typically, those are the things which elevate you. Because when you do the things God desires you to do, you gravitate towards God, and God is up, God is high. So you're elevating, you're being elevated. And that, to me, is the kind of thing which can circumvent what's being spoken about to a certain degree in that video.
Yeah.
Because most of the people that speak about that are not really talking about, someone coming and robbing you. Obviously, we all know, like, someone could have wealth and they get robbed. And then that's the completely different scenario. But it's typically someone is working extremely hard, pushes through, breaks through, gets to success, and then their child comes up in that success, but the lifestyle's different. They're weaker, then they have a child who's weaker, and that person is fragile. And when stuff hits them, they falter basically and lose what their ancestors have obviously worked hard to get. So, man, it's about wisdom, innit? If you have wisdom, those things which are attached to wisdom, like riches and honor, will stay with you. The further away you get from wisdom, the less likely you are to have those things. So it's about instilling wisdom throughout our generations. So when we're gone, they can not squander what we've left for them. They can actually build and multiply what we've left for them, and continuing on as they continue to go through that cycle and perpetuate success, wealth, prosperity, whatever you want to call it, all those godly principles and ideas into the generations that come after us. That's what I think about it. But I love that quote, man.
Do you know what's deep? I read a book a while back, Stephen Pressfield. Don't know if you guys come across him. So he's, one of his books is not The Art of War, the War on Art, something like
War
that.
of Art,
And there was a book where he was talking about the Spartan community and how they basically functioned. So like at a certain age, the son, so they will spend from 0 maybe to 7, 8 or something like that with their mum. And the moment, this is basically how they actually lived, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? The moment they reach a certain age, they get sent off to go live in like a Spartan school.
Yeah.
And in that school, They learn to fight. They learn to defend themselves. They learn to, like, all of these lessons are embedded in them. So much so that if something is to happen and they are to go to war, if any of them is seen running back, it won't be anyone that tells them to run back to the war, but their mother. Do you know what I mean? And it's like their community is so strict on raising individuals that know how to take care of themselves, that know how to be men. Like, so much so, like, yeah, the mum might have felt a certain way when you had to leave, but the moment you left, to them, you became a man. Do you know what I mean? I remember someone asked me one time, is like, what kind of a man would you like to be? Besides me being a believer, where I would like to be Christ-like. Another thing, like, I responded back to them, I was like, I would like to be someone that my son respects. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's so easy now in this day and age to teach your son principles that society finds you weird for teaching them that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because the question I asked earlier, or one of the other videos that we did, was, you know, the principles that it took for you to get to where you are, but you don't feel like doing that to your son. Do you know what I mean? Because you know, like, you had nights when it was late. Do you know what I mean? Nights where it could have broke most people. But if unless you move those principles over to your son, then they may not, like, that water down might happen so quickly. He said the granddad drove a Cadillac, he drove a Merc, his son drove a Ferrari, and then his grandson...
Ferrari was the grandson. Merc was his son.
He was the Cadillac.
He was a Cadillac. The granddad walked.
Yeah, 5.
Right, so...
And
But
10, 5, Cadillac, Ferrari, Cadillac, Merc,
Ferrari. Yeah.
yeah, but the thing is like, unless you teach your children the lessons that most might see as harsh, like, right after your Merc, there may not be a Ferrari.
That quote talks to me about the power of environment, man. I think people don't understand that environment isn't just what's outside of your home, but it's also what's inside your home. Environment isn't just what's inside your home, it's what's outside your home. And I think it's very critical, it's important, significant for us to raise children who are environment aware. Because I think that it's the environment that it's one thing to develop character within a child. You can develop those characters, and you said something key just now when you're talking about the Spartans and that child who would run back, the mum would direct them to go back forward. And that running back is still a factor. Why? Because when they get to war, maybe they weren't, there was something in that environment, you know, there was an imbalance somewhere. And I think it's very, very important for us to teach our children, you know, you will enter in a domain where X and Y could happen. You will meet X and Y. And the scripture talks about this. You look at Proverbs. Proverbs talks about the woman. Do you know what I'm saying? Psalms talks about the wicked, the evil, the foolish. Like, we see so many examples, not just of character development, but environment awareness, being aware of other characters in different environments. And I think it's extremely powerful. Israel mentioned wisdom already being a core factor. And there's a lot of work that fathers are required to do to ensure that their children, not sons, children are ready for the world outside, because it's a lot of work. I say it so frequently for so many years. If you send your child to school unprepared, the school playground is the place where children are made and broken. And you send an ill-equipped child to school, it's a problem. It's problematic, because they will leave that school trying to perform for girls, trying to perform for boys, trying to fit into a group. Like, there are so many pressure plays that happen in that place with the undeveloped minds. And, you know, the funniest thing to me is how many children that go to school without training, teaching, and instruction. You know, a parent just says, all right, it's school, it's school time, don't hit anybody else, boom, boom, off you go. And that's it. There's like real training that is not happening, that hasn't happened. And it's crazy, because that is a battlefield, school.
Yeah, bro. For me, like, sending your kids to these schools nowadays is like sending them to the lions, then, bro.
I think it's always been like that, bro. I think we're just seeing it more explicitly now.
Yeah.
It's always, and I'll tell you why. Because school is an environment where I say that untrained children, and when I say that, I just mean children who haven't been instilled with insight and wisdom. Because when you look at school, what is school? It is an environment full of little people who have been trained by instruction or observation in someone else's house. So if you know your neighbor is messed up, the child of your neighbor has definitely, by osmosis, the mere process of being in the environment with their parents, they've drawn some of those dysfunctions. And they go to school, and someone else's well-mannered child may see those dysfunctions and think that it's cool, it's funny, or they want to adopt those because that's my best friend and he's okay, she's okay, they're normal, XYZ, bro. So I'm saying that just to say that I think it's always been this way, bruv. Now the problem now is it's no longer from the bottom up. Now what we're seeing is trauma from the top down and from the bottom up meeting themselves in the middle. So it's not just the children there that may not be untrained, other families that may not be untrained. We've now got an organization, an institution that is, I don't know, bruv.
Trying to infiltrate their ideas, bro.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Imploding.
We spoke about in a different video before about the Nick Cannon one, where we was talking about just be like good role models, being like good men to chaperoning the next generation.
Right.
And when I think about that quote in this video, I think about people like Warren Buffett and some of those other rich guys who in the news have got a bit of flack at times where they're like, oh, we're not leaving all the wealth that we have for our children. Like, they'll take care of them to a certain degree, but it's like you hear them saying they need to go out and
make something of themselves.
Basically. And it's like, a lot of people look at those situations and like, oh, he's wicked, he's evil. And in my mind, I'm like, certain times over the years, I begin to think about it, it's like, you don't have anywhere near the money that these people that are doing these things have. But these people so easily and freely think they have all the insights as to how that sort of money and generational wealth should be managed.
Transferred, yeah.
It's like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's 100% right, but there's a reason why many of them do it. Some of them, it's greed, obviously. Like, they don't want anyone else to have what they have. But for some of them, it's not that. Some of them is, you know what, if I just give all of this stuff to somebody who maybe is not trained or hasn't prepared for it,
ruin them.
They're going to lose it. It's going to mess them up. And it's like, no, like, we talk about, even like this video is helping us talk about it again. There's people that are born in different environments and there's different ways to teach people the same lesson based on the environment you're in. So if you come from a situation where you didn't have much, you are in a position, a lot of lack, you probably understand lack in a different way to somebody who comes from an environment of abundance. And they both need to learn the same kind of lesson, but they're learning that lesson from different angles, from different verticals, from a different frame. So that lesson most likely has to be taught in a different way to cater to the person you're speaking to, the child you're speaking to. So you've heard some children that are like, okay, yeah, like I fully understand why my dad would do that and all those different kind of things. And some of them obviously are spoiled and they're like, no, like I should get all of the stuff and it shouldn't even be a question. But
yeah. Well, I remember watching a thing on 50 Cent and his son, where I think he was just trying to put his son on, but his son was just like, no, like, why should I live on X amount when my dad's 50 Cent? It's like, it's your dad that's doing it, bro. Like, do you know what I mean? But he was so entitled. Like, he felt like because
of who he was,
Curtis Jackson was his dad, he needed to be living that life also. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Like, but yeah, absolutely. Like, the thing about environment though, like, is what I find now is, like, when I've come to God, I think me and you had a conversation quite a while back. and he was like, like it's important to leave your children in God's hands because they all like you can't see them every single moment of the day.
Yeah.
Because if it's up to you, be like, nah, walk with me, do this, do
Yeah.
this, do this.
Yeah.
But the reality is, that's not how it's always gonna be. They're gonna be away from you. They're gonna be talking to somebody and this, that, and the other. And it's like the only thing you can do is really just, like do your part, 100%. But and then you've got to leave it to God, man. You've got to leave it to God because there are, I think, just like so many ideas out there that's trying to like just get them to, not think how they should be thinking and so on and so on. So
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I saw a while back now. I don't know if we discussed this. Jackie Chan, same scenario. His son just went left, and he was just like, "You ain't getting nothing. You need to make your own way." Do you know what I mean? And his son was, I think
he disowned him, or something like that.
Yeah. After a while, he had to. He had to. I shouldn't say that. But he chose to after a while. Like Jackie was trying to fuming, and you raise a good point. This Jackie Chan is a man who came from the bottom and made a name for himself, and I think he understands the strength that is developed in that type of a journey, and it's so crazy how your child will resent you out the gate. They won't fully appreciate the lesson you're giving them, but ultimately, if they were to go embark on that journey and win, it's impossible to buy what they just developed.
This is it.
Do you know what I mean? You can't go to the shop and say, inject me with motivation, passion, drive, you can't do that. There is no injection there's no pill, bruv.
It's like they say, like I can't go gym for you.
Fam.
Do you know what I mean? It's like what I do in the gym don't make you fit.
Come on, bro.
So it's like you've got to put in the work. But it's hard to get that. You know what? It's funny having this conversation now. I used to think before they don't respect me because of maybe where I currently am. But and then now we hear about the Jackie Chans and so on and so on, and it's like they don't respect their parents, and their parents is
bruv.
they have the money. Do you know what I mean? And it's sometimes the sad thing is to go back again to that teenage girl who recently got hurt in New Orleans. And her mom saying to her, like, no, don't go.
Right.
And her choosing to sneak out to go. And then that ends up happening. It's like, obviously, me putting myself as well, like, when I was younger, it's not like, there's things that my parents told me and I didn't do. Do you know what I mean? But there was like a thing, like a line.
A line, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where my friends will cross it and I'll be like, nah. This is it for me. Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna have to turn around and go back. Yeah, kind of thing. There was always a line where, like, some kids around my area, they felt what that line.
Yeah,
man dived over it. You know, like they didn't care about the line. Whereas for me, it's like I was like, nah, I do bad stuff, but I know better than this kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
That's powerful.
It's like people, I don't know, man. It's like sometimes I understand it's hard for kids, man. It's hard for kids, but. Yeah, you getting a kid to understand, like, I'm doing this for you, bro. That's challenging, bro.
We might discuss it one time. Like the other day, I watched a clip. It may be old, I don't know, but it was, I think, police footage of what I believe was a South London gang, and they filmed these kids, young people, running into, like, chasing some guy. Basically, they're walking along. Then the next clip, different camera, showed them chasing someone into like a back alley, let's just say that. Then I think they might have had shanks out or something like that, knives out. Then they show a clip a minute later or something like that, of them running back the other way, tucking shanks away. And I believe, I don't know, it's just a quick clip I saw. I didn't really read into it. But I believe that they may have murdered someone, basically. And it's so... let me get this right now. It's so disturbing how disobedience to a parent, the gift that God gave you. Children are a blessing. Your parents are a gift, and dishonoring that gift of God can put children in life-altering situations. I try to, stay refreshed on Proverbs, and Proverbs just talks about the teacher in Proverbs is saying, "My son, incline your ear, listen to my." He says, "I was like you once. I was a child." Do you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy how even when I'm talking to some of my children on occasion, you can see how, especially the older they get, they perceive that they know some stuff. And just because you were a child once doesn't mean that you fully appreciate their position. Do you know what I mean? So it's an interesting dynamic, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. But training your child is important, man. Teaching them is important, and it's vital. It's vital.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. It definitely is. It's like when they get it right, the joy, bro.
Yep. And when they shake,